I'm Daniel, and I'm a Cubs fan.
I'm Andy, and I'm a Sox fan.
And this is a podcast divided after the intro.
Your Daily Cubs White Sox podcast, the best place for all the baseball debate you need.
Welcome back. So today we are going to be talking about three things. Potential cease trade packages with 6 teams, I believe. Cubs revamped rivalries, which I don't know what that even means. And Kenley Jansen being a Cub, possibly. I doubt it, but let's get into it. So first we're going to talk about Dylan Cease trade proposals. Now, I'm reading from an MLB.com article that was, mind you, posted January 6th, so 2 days after Yamamoto signed with the Dodgers, but also way before Burns got traded to the Orioles. And the first team here is coincidentally the Orioles. So I doubt that the Orioles are going to trade for Cease now. It's a lot more, I would say it's a lot less likely for Cease to go to the Orioles just because of how good Burns is. And also the Orioles have a lot of other good pitchers like Bradish, Means, and all those guys. So here's the potential trade return for Dylan Cease. And this is just Dylan Cease, nothing else. So catcher first base Samuel Basallo, which is MLB Pipeline's number 46 prospect. Outfielder Connor Norby, which is Orioles number 7 prospect. And left-handed pitcher Cade Povich, Orioles number 11 prospect. And also Ramon Urias. So, Daniel, what do you think of that one?
So I was actually doing some research of my own, but who are the players again?
Okay. Okay. Number 46 overall MLB prospect, catcher first baseman Samuel Basallo, Connor Norby, Cade Povich, who are also prospects, and infielder Ramon Urias.
A lot of players I don't know, but a lot of prospects that you don't know how their futures. And I'll just say, like, all these teams that we're going to talk about with the Cease trade, like a lot of these prospects, like you look at a lot of people will talk about the Corbin Burns trade when talking about the Cease trade, because you think about the Corbin Burns trade. A lot of people, like Bob Nightingale, for example, made a post that he said that the Brewers' return in that Burns trade is the floor of what the White Sox should get in return for Cease. And do you agree with that? You look at the two players side by side, and Dylan Cease is not, in my opinion, he's a little worse. But he's also a year younger. But he has shown signs of being a good pitcher. However, if you look at his career stats, 458 recently, but then 220 before that, and then 391, 401, 579. He's clearly a two tough mid fours pitcher, ERA wise, and he definitely deserves to get traded for a decent haul, I think.
Yeah, me too. But Chris Getz, our GM, begs to disagree. He wants a lot of people for Dylan Cease, and I think that this trade with the Orioles is something that Chris Getz would decline, and now that the Orioles have Burns, they would decline as well. So let's move on to our next team, the Reds, who would trade for Dylan Cease and would give up Jonathan India, who we all know, right-handed pitcher Connor Phillips, which is MLB Pipeline's number 68 prospect, Chase Petty, and Leon Richardson. So about this, I would say that if we do acquire Jonathan India, he's a young player, but he's also pretty good now, and he's not like super young, but he's now like 19, 20 years old. So I do like this trade. It fills a gap that we've had for a while. I don't know if Paul DeYoung or Nicky Lopez are able to fill up the second base gap like Jonathan India can. And if we do acquire him and we handle his contract, in a good manner, I think he could be on the White Sox for a long time. So I think I like this trade better than the Orioles and I also think that they're more likely to do it because they are looking to get into the playoffs this year in a weak division, and they don't have much pitching depth, unlike the Orioles have now.
So you're saying Jonathan India and who?
Connor Phillips, which is MLB Pipeline's number 68 prospect, right-handed pitcher Chase Petty, and right-handed pitcher Leon Richardson.
I'd make that trade, honestly. I mean, Jonathan India is bringing a lot of value. And then Cease, I don't think the White Sox are going to re-sign him. And you get a lot of guys, Chase Petty, a familiar name for me. I'm trying to remember what it brings to my mind, but obviously headlined by the India. Like he was, I believe, a rookie of the year in 2021. He's a young player, up and coming. He's still got a lot of time in his career he's at the peak of his career. He's a young, fun player that I'm not sure if he played in 2021 debut, that would mean that he's played 3. So you'd be getting 3 more years of control, and the other guys in there, Chase Petty and the other guy. I mean, like you get a decent package for a guy in Dylan Cease, who is unreliable at best, and potentially good, potentially bad, but is also
potentially great, potentially mid. That's what I would say.
5-year 4.50 ERA is mid, I guess.
Well, it's below mid. I'll admit it, but great was what he had in 2022. That was a Cy Young candidate season.
Okay.
And if you get that Cease, then you'll win the trade, no matter how much you trade.
This is reminding me. Okay, I shouldn't mention his name. Of a guy that comes here thinking of signing, like it's a high risk move.
Well, who is this guy?
His name starts with a C. Cody.
We'll save that for the third topic.
Yeah. Anyways, it reminds me of him because he's like, he definitely gives a high ceiling. I mean, don't get me wrong, season 2022 is crazy, but do you want to have to sign him in free agency, which it would be dumb not to trade him and then not sign him? So do you want to have to sign him in free agency for maybe being mid, maybe being great, maybe being bad? Like, I don't know, but that's a good haul, definitely.
And that's what I feel that these teams would be trading for when they trade for Cease. A guy that, they would predict the ERA for them would be somewhere in between great, like 2022, and below average, like 2024.
Yeah, like a 3.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Like they would think that Cease would have an ERA around like 3 when he enters the team, which brings me to my next team that would be trading for Dylan Cease, the Yankees. And the Yankees are an interesting candidate because they do have Cole, they have Rodon, who's always injured, and they have Stroman. And I feel like reuniting Cease with Rodon would be smart. And obviously, when you're the Yankees and you just got Juan Soto, you'd want to add to that because you want to win a World Series now, and you might have potentially the last year with Juan Soto, which is, a big guy to let go, even though you just traded for him. And the return for Cease for the Yankees, second baseman / shortstop Oswald Peraza, Oswaldo Cabrera, Austin Wells, who's a catcher, Yankees number 7 prospect, and right-handed pitcher Will Warren, Yankees number 8 prospect. I do like this deal. I feel like we're getting a lot of young players. If these people develop well, then these are going to be 4 major league contributing players. So I think this is my favorite out of the 3, even though Jonathan India is great. But I still think that all 4 of these players do have a lot of potential, especially Oswald Peraza.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the Yankees as a team, first of all, obviously they were aggressive this offseason getting Juan Soto, so they want to improve. Also, their division's definitely harder
than the Reds. That's why it makes a little more sense for the Reds to go for the risk. But for the Yankees, definitely, they're a team with a good pitching staff at first, with Garrett Cole leading it, ace. But then you got these guys who are like iffy, and you look at how they did last year. The ERA in the rotation jumps after Garrett Cole from 263 to 464, 456, 428, 665, 685. Like, they're a team that could use some starting depth, and we were just talking about how all those guys literally are like Cease's like floor. So actually, getting Cease might not be so bad for them. It would actually be a good deal, unless he really hurt them by underperforming. And still, he'd help with depth.
All right, let's move on to the 4th out of 6 teams, the Boston Red Sox, which I think is an interesting team since nobody has any idea where they're going next year. So I think this is probably the least likely team to be in the sweepstakes for Dylan Cease. I read all 6 teams. I think this is the least likely to make a trade for Dylan Cease, maybe even less likely than the Orioles. And the package going away from the Red Sox to the White Sox would be outfielder Roman Anthony, MLB pipeline number 35 prospect, Nick York, Richard Fitz, and Bobby Dahlbeck. I do like this trade. I think it's pretty good. I love Roman Anthony. I think he would be just awesome on the White Sox. But none of these other names, in my opinion, really like do it for me. This is kind of a just like a iffy trade. None of these players really have any bells and whistles to go with them. So I don't know about this trade. I don't think it's going to happen. What about you? What do you think?
I mean, about a trade that isn't favorable for the White Sox, you have to think about whether the White Sox will agree to this. And, like, the same thing if you were the GM. Like, you have to agree to this if that's the best offer you can get. Now, assuming that there are better offers, it doesn't even make sense. But I will say Bobby Dahlbeck is the only guy I actually know. But guys who are on that top 100 prospect list are going to give value to your farm system and potentially bring major league talent relatively soon. So, I mean, there's a potential trade with the Red Sox, but I'm not sure how that will happen. We'll see.
Yep, and now the 5th team, which I think is the team that is the dark horse to get Dylan Cease. They're in perfect position to try and sneak in the playoffs and maybe surprise some people, turn some heads. They're in my opinion, they're in a strong division, so I think they would have to make the wild card. And I think this team is really one step away from being a legit World Series contender. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about the Seattle Mariners.
What?
And what?
You're kidding.
What?
Nah, the Seattle Mariners.
What's wrong with them?
I don't know, man.
They have a young team, man. I mean, yes, they're in a strong division, but I think this is a team that'll turn some heads if they make one big move. So anyway.
Actually, they're better than I thought. They won 88 games last year and were 2 away from winning the division. Yeah. They can make a move. They can make a move.
So anyway, the players that the Sox will be getting from this trade: outfielder Gabriel Gonzalez, MLB pipeline's number 66 prospect; shortstop Colt Emerson; right-handed pitcher Emerson Hancock, so a lot of Emersons; and outfielder Lazaro Montes. Now, about this trade, I don't think that the White Sox would do it just because none of these players really scream to me. I don't think they scream to Chris Getz at all, in fact. So I think the White Sox would say no to this. I think the Mariners would have to give a lot more. What do you think?
I mean, I feel like the Mariners could make that trade, but are they willing to give up enough? Like, how many of those guys are major league level players?
I'm pretty sure just Emerson Hancock, since all these people are considered prospects. But
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I think Emerson
Like,
Hancock can play a few games. I think he's played a few games actually.
I mean, I don't really.
I feel like this is a trade that a team would make in the Mariners' position because like they want to make a move, get that talent right away, but from Cease, and maybe they end up giving up a really good player. But the Mariners also just I see them making this move, but I don't see them giving up too much. I'm gonna look up how good their farm system is now, but I see them making this move. I mean, it's just I'm not sure if they'll give up enough where the White Sox will be like, okay, this will be a good the best trade that we can get. Let's go Mariners.
Yeah, me too. That's what I think. And then
Great.
the last team would be the Chicago Scrubs. So this is gonna be an interesting topic. This is gonna be pretty hot.
I'm ready.
Okay, well here we go. The trade return for Dylan Cease, Christopher Morel, Ben Brown, James Triantos,
Okay.
and Brennan Davis. I'm doing it. I'm saying yes.
From the White Sox?
Yeah, if I was the White Sox, I think I might say yes. Maybe I would replace Davis and Triantos with or maybe Davis and Brown with Owen Casey or something like that.
No.
It's hard when you're in this side of the trade.
Like Morel, I see giving him up for some people, but you're really with Triantos and Ben Brown, and then adding on who's the last guy? I don't know how I forgot.
Brennan Davis.
Yeah, Brennan Davis. He was in the. I don't even remember what it's called, but it's like the young like the minor league all stars or whatever. They have like a all-star game for like minor league players or something on MLB Stadium to like showcase the future talent. And he hit 2 home runs in that game. I remember a few years ago.
Okay, so
all those prospects have high ceilings that they might not get to, but but that would be a big hit to our farm system. And giving up Morel, I would not make that trade as the Cubs. I don't want Cease that much. Like, how much would he help us, anyways? Like, I mean, I'm sure Wisniewski could do. Wisniewski can get a 4 ERA. So if Cease does that,
yeah, but can Wisniewski get a 2 ERA? You got to think that Dylan Cease, when teams are trading for him, they're thinking, you know what? We'll combine the 2 ERA and the 4 ERA to get a 3 ERA. That's what we're thinking that Cease can produce.
Yeah, but it's too much of a risk. All these things, let's take a risk on.
Well, you're supposed to be a good team that makes the playoffs, right? Good teams that make the playoffs and contend for World Series championships. You know what they do? They take risks. They go in free agency and they take risks. They trade for big targets for a lot of prospects, and that's a huge risk. And it seems like the Cubs have not been doing that this offseason.
I'm just scared to throw away a lot of prospects. And I will say that Morel is actually an impact player.
I don't think you understand how many home runs he hit.
I understand how impactful he is. Trust me.
You understand?
Yeah,
I do.
Okay.
In 100 games, he hit 26 home runs. So that's over 30. That's 35 over a season.
Yeah, I understand, Daniel, firsthand. I really do.
But and those prospects are a lot of our big prospects. I don't want to give them up, man. Yeah, it's different when it's your team.
It is.
I'm connected to these prospects. Triantos, I don't care about that much, really. Ben Brown, I kind of have a connection to him. Brennan Davis, I mean, I haven't heard of him much since that young all-star game, but
I mean, that gave me a lot of hope. I was like,
He's gonna be an all-star, like MVP.
Yeah, no, probably not.
but anyways, that
So
that's
I would take the trade. Daniel wouldn't. Let's move on to the Cubs revamped rivalries. I have no idea what Daniel's
Yeah,
implying by this, but let's hear him speak.
By the way, yeah, I would take the trade as the White Sox, not as the Cubs, just to clarify.
Okay.
But yeah, before we get back, we're gonna quickly go into a break and talk about SeatGeek. So on the channel, we are
Sponsored by SeatGeek on all our channels, and we like to talk about SeatGeek because that's where we can get our sports events tickets, our concert tickets, our anything tickets. And Andy, I want to
Besides deli tickets.
when the Cubs make the World Series next year, I want to be able to get my tickets with
You're a
$20
buffoon.
off. How do I do that?
SeatGeek.
Use code 4boys. Okay, so any sports games, okay? So yeah, use code 4boys on SeatGeek. So we're back here. And Cubs revamped rivalries. Andy was very confused about this. The horrible Milwaukee Brewers. I hate them. They come out with this thing. We're not going to sell the Cubs versus Brewers home games tickets to Cubs fans for a week because Brewers fans who are born in Milwaukee deserve better. Okay, I don't care. You guys will
Well,
not
yeah,
prevent
because
us from
that's the
fans.
Brewers fans. Of course, they're going to treat the Brewers fans better than the rivals.
You will not prevent us Cubs fans from showing up, crowding your games, screaming louder, making more noise, cheering our Cubs on to victory, showing those Brewers fans that they don't know a single thing about anything. I hate the Brewers. I hate their fans, and I can't wait to go to more games against Milwaukee and see the Cubs win.
Okay, so that's what you said, but to everyone who's not a Cubs fan, what they heard was, I can't wait to go to more Brewers games and have all the Cubs fans be there and be completely obnoxious, throw cans of anything at the players and at the fans, yell, scream, sing, and brag about how great their team is, even though they just lost in the bottom of the ninth when they had an 8-1 lead. That's what everyone else heard.
So it's let's just say the rivalry might not even happen next year because the Brewers might win 70 games, 60.
But okay, 60 is too low. 70. But like you have to understand that the Brewers will still be competing with the Cubs. And
So that's why
I'm excited for this rivalry because it can get fun and heated. But about the Cardinals, I've seen some stuff about whether I was reading a Cardinals or like website about like the Cardinals, and I was reading an article on there, and they were talking about how like they were like scared from the Cubs, and they were like the Cardinals need to make some more moves because this rotation isn't good enough for sure be better than the Cubs. And they were talking about that, and they were like saying like the Cardinals need to be scared of the team in blue, and that's like a Cardinals fan. But I will say that the Cardinals rotation, those additions aren't as big, but as some people think, I do think Sonny Gray is huge. I do think they added a lot of good talent to their rotation, but I don't think it's an all-star rotation, and it's not in a normal division. It's not a division-winning rotation. Now in the NL Central, it could be. So I feel like the Cubs and Cardinals, just like that guy said in that article, will be back in a rivalry in 2024. So any other teams? I mean, I don't think the Pirates are ready yet. They've got a lot of young talent. I feel like they need a year, but they might be in competition early, especially like last year. Who else?
I think the Reds are the team to beat in the NL Central.
Reds. Sneaky
I've said it once, and I've said it many times, and I'll say it again. I think the Reds are the team to beat in the NL Central.
I mean, they showed last year they're coming to the Brewers and saying we're the new team to beat. So
that's actually a team that might be that. So, I mean, yeah, about the Reds, like I feel like Candelario's not going to cut it though with moves. I feel like they need to make more moves,
I think they've
which
had a
is
bad
why
offseason,
in
to
the
be honest.
trade, A bad one?
Yeah, I think they had a bad offseason.
That's what I'm saying. They gotta make more moves. But like we were talking about in the Cease trade segment, that would actually improve them a lot. But then
I
you're
mean,
also removing that player, Jonathan India, who's actually an impact player. But then again, so yeah, we'll see about how the other teams do. So, you got
yeah,
anything else to say about the Cubs rivalries?
yeah, the
Oh,
Cubs will lose every
Cubs
single
and
game.
White Sox. Cubs and White Sox rivalries.
No, really? Is that a thing?
The Cubs and the White Sox in 13 days will be playing their first spring training game in Arizona at Sloan Park. It's gonna be fun. So, although the game doesn't matter, it'll be fun to see a little bit of the rivalry that will, of course, start completely in the first games that they actually play in the regular season, and it's always exciting. I feel like the White Sox last year, obviously they lost 101 games, but they played really good against the Cubs. Like it was actually like very competitive. Like so, it's always like a crazy time because like like it feels like the World Series to us Chicago people.
It does. It really does. For people that aren't in Chicago, it truly does feel like the World Series. And I feel like whenever, like, no matter how good the Cubs are, or no matter how bad the White Sox are, I feel like it's always a good game that the White Sox will always fight and they will win a lot of the time. And even when the Cubs are bad and the White Sox are good, the Cubs still fight. I remember in 2021, one of the crosstown games in the first inning, you guys scored 5 runs, and then we ended up coming back and winning. That was great, but it was still it got me biting my nails. The first inning was really just it left me kind of hopeless, and then I realized how good the White Sox are and how bad the Cubs are, and yeah, we ended up pulling away with a victory. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like what you're saying applies to both the Cubs and White Sox. Like, no matter how good the teams are playing, they show up, they're on their A game in this series. So, I'm excited, but I'm also scared because whenever the Cubs, whenever one of the teams lose, if it's your team, then one of us is gonna have a really good time telling the other one about like I think did you even have did I was I too happy? You like could barely deal with me when the Cubs were doing great against the White Sox, but last year. But
Yeah.
it could be flipped this year. You don't know.
You know what I'm gonna do if the White Sox win all the games? I'm just gonna be dead silent so you can wallow in your misery all alone.
Yeah, that's sad, but maybe it's a good idea from your standpoint. So now we're gonna be back. So we're here again. Kenley Jansen. We've got a couple minutes here. We can go a little over 30, but this is gonna be brief. This is just one player. Now all I did is I saw an article by on Fan Nation inside the Cubs on Fan Nation.
Fan Nation.
And
Okay, is this a biased article or no?
I don't know about this website. Now, according to John Morosi, the Boston Red Sox are wanting to move closer Kenley Jansen this offseason. Not last offseason. Now, they did get Hector Neris. He's not a closer. He used to be a closer, though, so he could be. But they also have Alzolay. They also have Mark Leiter. I mean,
Mark Leiter, didn't he have like a 80 or 8 or something?
He actually was pretty solid last year. But anyways, not about Mark Leiter. We could use a closer. And he was a 3-time All-Star with the Dodgers, and he signed a 2-year contract with the Red Sox ahead of the 2023 season. So he'll be a one year pickup. And he had a 3.63 ERA last year, but he was still an All-Star surprisingly. And the Cubs could use him. But of course Alzolay before he got hurt. Well, this is while he was a closer, but before So all of his closer time, he got 22 saves with a 2.67 ERA. But he got hurt because he got overworked. With Hector Neris and and not just Hector Neris, but if we also had Kenley Jansen, there would be no overwork involved. Everyone would do better because that what happened to Alzolay was completely burnout. So Kenley Jansen could help us a lot, and we do have the prospects. And you could argue that because this trade would be so much easier than the Cease trade, you could make this trade. Now, would you give up Morel for a year of Kenley Jansen? No. But would you give up Ben Brown and Jackson Ferris? I believe we gave up Jackson Ferris already. How about Triantos? The two guys.
Maybe not Ben Brown, but I would definitely give them Triantos.
I mean, I'd give a couple mid pretty good prospects for one. I mean, it might be a lose move. I feel like he's going to be decent though, so he could actually help us out a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, but okay, here's the thing. This is just another stupid article made by probably some stupid Cubs fan about some random guy just getting traded to the Cubs. This is what you guys have been doing so much. First, it was Ohtani. He got signed. At the same time, it was Soto. He got traded to the Yankees. And then it was Alonso. He's not even going anywhere. Then it was Yamamoto, Dodgers. Then it was, I don't know who it was. I think it was just a period of mourning for like a week. And then Bellinger now.
Hoskins.
Yeah, Hoskins. It was the Hoskins and Hader show for a while. And then they got signed to their own respective teams. And now it's literally Bellinger, and now it's Jansen. Because Bellinger seems to be not even caring about anything. Either that or we've just like milked him so much that he's just become a boring topic. So now we just have to fill in someone else to be the next big guy that everyone talks about that's never going to happen. Kenley Jansen, welcome to the talks, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you mean. And like now we're just at the point in the stage where like we're the new players we're talking about haven't yet signed, so we don't know yet. But Kenley Jansen, welcome to the talks. And you know, Bellinger doesn't seem like he cares about signing with anyone as long as he gets his money. And so he's gonna go into spring training. Most people are saying he no one wants to pay him the money he wants. I don't know where if Boris just says, I will never
sign with you guys.
Like Boris will agree to anything that's like reasonable. So no one's gonna sign him. What's gonna happen?
Yeah, I feel like by the end of this season, Boris is gonna get fired from a lot of people just because some of them just like want to play baseball. Like they're baseball players. They don't want to just sit there and do nothing. I know they want to get paid, but at the same time, I would assume that they would want to play some baseball here and there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And you wonder, like, is he good for the MLB by just holding up every single major name on the market? Just
no,
for
he's not.
Million? He's not? Okay, yeah, I agree with you. So yeah, that's a wrap. Thank you guys for listening, watching this podcast, episode number 32, I believe. Yes, and that's it. So yeah, thank you guys, and until next time, see you later. Go Cubs!
Go with us!